Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Whether you're here live, you're catching me live on a Monday night, or you're watching the replay, I truly appreciate the support. This is going to be a little different for me. There's going to be a lot of moving parts. So I've got notes, I've got a slide situation going on. So this isn't my normal sitting here doing a live and just kind of whatever happens, happens. So I'm a little nervous, which is really crazy because how long have I been going live, guys? Years now? But because I think the moving parts, and this is so important to me. This webinar live video, I do want to teach because that's my background, right? I was a teacher for just about 7 years in the traditional sense of teaching middle school and high school English. And, ever since then, I've been teaching mediumship courses. I've been teaching integrated energy therapy certification classes. And so now discernment, teaching intuition versus fear, right? So spiritual life coaching has really become the passion for me because in all the years that I've been doing integrated energy therapy sessions or any of the other healing modalities that have been kind of combined in with that, it's kind of morphed into this helping those of you who are really ready for a radical transformation in your life. So here we are tonight with the integration problem, why spiritual insight without regulation creates distortion. So how do you lean into your intuition when you don't know if you can trust and act on it, or if it is intuition, or if it's fear, or if it's something else, right? So that's tonight. Hopefully you'll be able to take that away from this whole presentation. Because one of the things that I have come up with in the last decade is the integration process, which we're going to go over and I'm going to explain tonight. But for the most part, this has become the integration process that I have developed because most people don't have an intuition problem. They have a nervous system problem. Doorway to the divine is open, but learning how to understand, interpret, and use it in your life has been the stumbling block. High-functioning, intelligent people come to me saying, I feel everything. I pick up on energy. I just know things, but I'm exhausted. What if the exhaustion isn't from being intuitive, but from being unregulated? And that lands. So spiritual life coaching is a practice about beliefs, connections, and yes, faith. Faith in whatever you want to call it, whether it's God, it's Christ consciousness, it's universe, it's source. It's not about religion, but it is about believing in something that is bigger than us. It's also about integration. It's about stabilizing your physiology enough that your perception and intuition become clear. So, when stress hormones are elevated, perception skewers towards threat. When sleep is dysregulated, clarity drops. When trauma is unresolved, intuition gets filtered through survival. Think about that. When trauma is unresolved, intuition gets filtered through survival. That's why you're having a really hard time trusting and acting on your intuition. Intuition is calm. Anxiety is urgent. Disassociation is foggy. So the energetic empathy track. Empathy without boundaries turns into self-abandonment. I can't tell you how many people, and so if you've been with me for a while, you know that my mantra has always been, those who need me find me. When I started this work over a decade ago, I never wanted to be in competition with another spiritual teacher. I never wanted to be in competition with anybody that was in my immediate area or in even in the online community, right? I never wanted to be in competition with anybody else doing this work, because here's the thing. You're going to go and work with the people that you resonate with. And that's the way it should be. Because if you're working with people that you resonate with, then the work is going to be profound. But if you're not really comfortable with somebody, you're not going to be vulnerable with them. If you're working with somebody who you feel has a certain attitude or belief system that doesn't really align with you, it's going to be really hard for you to dig deep for whatever reason. And so I've never wanted to be in competition with anybody. And so those who need me find me has been the mantra, or the intention that I have set with the universe. And it's worked. So because I am an empath, that is where this has all started for me a very long time ago. I have drawn, through my intention, many empaths to me. And so this is really, really important, that empathy without boundaries turns into self-abandonment, that we lose ourselves when we're the people pleasing, when we're doing and doing and doing and being and being and being for others, right? So they confuse nervous system activation for intuition. They confuse over responsibility for compassion. They call enmeshment spiritual connection, right? So it's very distorted what you think your spiritual connection is. So how many of you have felt exhausted after certain conversations, after being in certain rooms, after going to certain events, right? Because you're taking on all of that energy and you don't have the wherewithal or the knowledge or the experience to be able to protect yourselves yet. But that is one of the things that we are going to help you with. So that's not psychic overload. That's a boundary issue. So spiritual maturity is not about seeing more. It's not about hearing more. It's not about feeling more. It's not about knowing more. It's about stabilizing all that input through a regulated nervous system, through an accurate perception, through emotional ownership, clean boundaries, discernment over drama. Close your eyes. Think of a recent intuition. Intuitive feeling, intuitive thought, something you thought that was coming through your intuition. Now really feel into it. Was it calm? Or was it urgent? So let's talk about when intuition isn't the problem. So I want to open with a client story. I'm going to call her Maya. She's intelligent, educated, highly perceptive. In our first session, she told me, I've always known things before they happen. I can feel when something is off. I read people instantly, but I'm exhausted and I don't trust myself anymore. She wasn't unstable. She wasn't delusional. She was dysregulated. Maya grew up in a home where tension could turn on without warning. So she learned to scan. She could feel a shift in tone before anyone else noticed it. She could sense mood changes before words were spoken. She became highly attuned. That survival skill later got labeled as intuition. It wasn't wrong, but it wasn't clean. Maya believed if she felt anxious, something bad was about to happen. If her chest tightened, it meant danger. If she sensed distance in someone, it meant abandonment. So every activation felt like a psychic signal. But was it actually happening? Her nervous system was firing. This is where we bridge to physiology. So Stephen Porges says, when we're in a threat state, our perception narrows. We can scan for danger. Neutral cues look threatening. And we can reference Antonio Damasio. Emotion drives interpretation before cognition catches up. Emotion drives interpretation before cognition catches up. So when Maya felt a sensation, her brain interpreted it as an intuitive truth, but it was a trauma activation. In one session, I asked her something simple. When your intuition speaks, is it calm? She paused and she said, no, it feels urgent. That was the shift. Intuition is calm, direct, it doesn't argue, doesn't chase. Your anxiety, however, is urgent, it's tight, it's catastrophic, and it demands attention. Disassociation is floaty, it's detached. Spiritual language with no embodiment. Maya had never separated those. No one taught her to. We didn't try to expand her intuition. We stabilized her physiology first. We worked on sleep regulation, nervous system grounding, emotional differentiation, boundary reinforcement. Once her system settled, her intuition didn't disappear. It became quieter, cleaner, more precise. She stopped reacting to every sensation as prophecy. Most spiritually sensitive people don't need more awakening, but they need integration. They don't need to open more. 9 times out of 10, when you guys come to me, you are way open. You need to learn how to stabilize what's already open. So, let's do some self-reflection. If you feel exhausted by your sensitivity, if you've confused anxiety with intuition, if you've mistaken hypervigilance for psychic ability, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It means your nervous system has been doing its job too well. Spiritual life coaching, as I practice it, it's not about expanding perception. That's going to happen, to be honest with you. Your intuition is going to heighten. That's like a byproduct of integrated energy therapy, right? Working with all those higher vibrational beings. It's about regulating perception, but we also have to regulate your nervous system. Because when your physiology is stable, discernment becomes natural. And when discernment becomes natural, power becomes quiet. Oh, I keep hitting the wrong button. So, why you are intuitive but still anxious. Intuition versus anxiety versus disassociation, and why most people confuse them is really, really important. The spiritual path without losing psychological ground. It's what we want, right? So this isn't about bypassing trauma with affirmations. We're not spiritual bypassing here. Mm-mm. It's about channeling spirit guides to receive support. And that's my job. That's where I facilitate that. And then down the road, when you are getting regulated, that is where you can step in. It's not about suppressing your intuition because it makes other people uncomfortable. No, never. I'm never going to ask you to do that. It's about integration, right? Which is why we're going to talk about the integration method. So spiritual life coaching. There we go. I thought we missed one. Spiritual life coaching is psychological integration plus nervous system regulation plus intuitive discernment. So it's not therapy. It's not religion. It's not performance spirituality. It's structured self-awareness with depth. You're going to do the work. I'm going to facilitate it with the spirit guides, with the higher self, with source, with the 9 archangels through integrated energy therapy. And then any archangels or ascended masters or spirit guides that you personally work with most likely will be in the session. And sometimes that room is really crowded. Not going to lie. So, nervous system regulation, and we are going to talk about heart-brain coherence, very, very important, and breath work. So I will reference the Heart Math Institute. Trauma awareness, identity work, really important, right? Intuition development without dissociation. Energetic boundaries in real life. We're going to talk about those. We're going to learn about those. We're going to learn how to use those. We're going to talk about energy protection. And ways in which to protect your energy, especially for those of you who are very empathic. Discernment versus illusion. So, spiritual bypass versus spiritual coaching. So, just raise your vibration. No, we're going to regulate your nervous system first. Raising your vibration is going to be the product of all the work that we do. Follow the signs blindly. Never. We're going to develop discernment. What feels right for you? Because what feels right for you may not feel right for someone else. And we're working with you, right? This is why these sessions are one-on-one. So we can go in depth together for you. Hyper empathy. Nope, we're going to work on boundaried compassion, right? Setting boundaries with compassion, but maintaining them. We're channeling versus embodied awareness. So there is going to be spiritual connection, but we're not going to be relying on it to the detriment of the trauma that you are coming into. Because again, think of that emotional chart. At the bottom is fear and at the top is love. And somewhere in the middle is where you are. And we want to move you, right? So in each coaching session, or in each round of coaching sessions, the Empower Me Now is 9 sessions in 6 months. At the beginning of that 6 months, the very first session we have, we're going to set a goal. And it's going to be that goal that we're going to be working on the majority of your sessions. Other things might pop up, of course. We're human and we have a life to live. But my goal is to help you realize the goal that you came into those 9 sessions with. And that's what's so important. So again, intuition is calm, neutral, direct, no panic attached, and no panic attacks. Will not create. Well, I can't say won't create a panic attack if that intuition is really taking you out of your comfort zone. It could be a byproduct, but no, there's no panic attached to the information. Anxiety is urgent. It does have like a catastrophic feel to it, that the ceiling is falling. Your body tightens, and it's all future focused. It's not present. Intuition is present. Disassociation, you're foggy, you're floaty, disconnected from your body. In disassociation, some people talk about, being outside of their body. Um, and we don't want to use spiritual language to escape discomfort, right? No spiritual bypassing. So, again, take a moment, take a nice deep breath, close your eyes. Think of a decision you're avoiding. Now notice, is your body tightening or softening? Do you feel like you can breathe, or do you feel like it's hard to breathe? Do you feel like you can move freely, or do you feel like you're afraid to move, right? If you're tight and afraid to move, then the answer is no. But if you're loose and it feels soft, then the answer is yes. So for me, yes, no questions are the easiest, to be honest with you, to discern. And then where do you feel the sensation specifically? Was it your stomach? Was it your chest? Was it your jaw? Very, very important. Very, very important. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here. So the pineal gland and intuition. I actually have a whole podcast on this. So I have two, one on the nervous system and then one on the pineal gland specifically. So you can always go to Spiritual 411 if you want more of the science behind the nervous system. So the pineal gland regulates melatonin, sleep, influences sleep cycles, sensitive to light, and correlates with circadian rhythm. Really, really important. So when sleep is dysregulated, intuition is distorted. When stress hormones are high, perception skews threat-based, right? So we go into survival mode. So this is why it's so important to really think about, like, what is your sleep pattern? Are you sleeping? Is sleep something that you're, need to regulate? And also dreams, do you remember your dreams? Do you not remember your dreams? So that's a whole part of this too, because dream interpretation and dreaming is so important to overall well-being and also spiritual insights. Many messages come through your dreams. So stay grounded. When sleep is dysregulated, intuition is distorted. So really, really important. Okay. Illusion versus discernment. So stage 1, awakening, right? Awareness without self-attack, naming misalignment without collapse, seeing where projection occurred. Really, really important. Stage 2, overexpansion. When we build decisions on distortion, systems destabilize. Nervous system dysregulation increases. Identity becomes externally anchored. Think about that. Where in your life has your identity become externally anchored? Did you give your identity over to someone or something, right? We do that in some very manipulative relationships. So stage 3 is recognition, awareness without self-attack, becoming aware of trauma, decisions without attacking yourself, like beating yourself up. Naming misalignment without collapse. Again, being able to name what you've been through, how you feel, without it kind of taking you to your knees, right? Seeing where projection occurred. Where did you project onto someone or onto a situation, things that were going on within you that you didn't want to deal with? We're human. We do these things, especially if we're in survival mode. because we want to survive. And one of the beautiful things about spiritual life coaching that I've really, really enjoyed is just watching people really come into themselves and come into loving themselves. So stage 4 is humility. Identity has to reorganize. Patterns must unwind. Trust must be rebuilt within yourself and sometimes with others. But this is really inner work. And then once we do the inner work, and then you can translate it into your relationships and your situations and your goals, the goals that we're working on together and the goals that you may have down the road. All right. Stage 5. Discernment. Very, very important. You know, when you get to a certain vibration, discernment becomes something that you come into connection with. And so 100% of the time, if you're finding me, you're at this level where you're having some practice with discernment, because it withdraws energy from distortion, right? If it doesn't feel right, it's not for you. It's not yours. It reorients towards coherence, so allowing your heart and your mind to get in alignment, right? Think about how many relationships you really, really struggled with because your heart and your head didn't align, right? So discernment helps you to get those into alignment, and being able to then decide that if your heart and your head aren't together on something, then this isn't for you. Unfortunately, sometimes. It refines your perception. So it really helps you to step into your intuition. It helps you really to be able to start trusting and acting on the intuition that you're receiving. So boundaries get clear, triggers become data, false authority loses its grip, external validation matters less. You don't really start to care what other people think. And to be honest with you guys, I think this is where I am a lot. Like, I've really hit this one. You know, I've had spiritual life coaching in my back pocket for a year now. It's taken me a year to really be able to put myself out here, because now I just don't care what people think. And it's kind of freeing. It's very liberating. And I want everybody to be here. I want everybody to be liberated and stepping into their purpose and their passion and their authority. So stage 6, integration. Pattern recognition. We now see our patterns so we don't dump back into them. We have patience. We have patience with ourselves. We have patience with others, especially with others that we can see. Because now that we're kind of at this place of, we're aware of our patterns, we're aware of our triggers, we're aware of our survival mode, like, you start to recognize it on other people, right? So you have to have patience with them because they are where they are on their journey and you're not there anymore. So you have to start self-trust. And this is where you start being able to trust your intuition and acting on it as you move forward. Really starting that relationship with spirit, that relationship of tuning into them, tapping into them whenever you have a decision to make or you need guidance, whether it's asking them for a sign or, you know, using a tool like a pendulum or tarot or oracle cards to kind of get a message, or just sitting in meditation and listening to, you know, hearing the message or feeling the message. So however, you know, you are wanting that, that's where this comes in. And then you're non-reactive. Like, bad things happen, but you're not on the floor crying, because you know, through your connection to spirit, through connection to your spirit guides, through connection to source, to God, Christ consciousness, got you. They got you. And your obstacles and challenges are there, but they don't feel insurmountable anymore. And the more that you are in discernment, you are able to then step through, move through, overcome much more easily without the very big highs and lows. Your obstacles and challenges get to be like more bumps in the roads than those insurmountable mountains they used to be. So it's beautiful. And then clarity under pressure, you know? You're not triggered and you're not so anxious that you can't focus and make decisions under pressure. Like, okay, this is a pressure situation, or, there's something going on here that I got to deal with, but I'm not freaking out because there's nothing to freak out about because I'm not doing this alone because I don't have so much trauma in my emotional body that I don't have capacity to handle it. I have capacity now. I have room now. So, what people are actually come to me for? Narcissistic relationship recovery. That's been a theme with many people who've come to me. Boundary confusion, hyper responsibility, survival mode. I'm intuitive but exhausted, the empath, right? Spiritual burnout, anxiety disguised as psychic awareness. So I get to help them differentiate nervous system activation from spiritual messages, build clean, energetic boundaries, integrate insight without destabilizing their life, and they get to make choices and decisions that are coming from that very grounded place. So let's talk about a trauma survivor who thought she was psychic. When hypervigilance gets mistaken for intuition. Oh, we don't want that one yet. Okay. I told you it was going to be a little crazy tonight, so thank you for being with me and dealing with me. So I want to tell you about someone I'm going to call Elena. Elena came to me after leaving a long-term relationship that she described as emotionally confusing. She didn't use the word narcissistic at first. She said things like, I always knew something was off. I could feel shifts in him before he spoke. I could sense when he was about to withdraw, but somehow I still doubted myself. She wasn't crazy. She was trauma conditioned. In her relationship, affection wasn't inconsistent. Reality was questioned. Emotions were minimized. Accountability was deflected. I just want to say the first one again because I think I might have said it wrong. Affection was inconsistent. So Elena adapted. She became exquisitely attuned. She could read microexpressions, subtle tone changes, energy shifts in a room. Her nervous system learned, scan constantly, stay prepared, and that ability followed her after the relationship ended. So her problem that she told me was, I can feel people instantly. I know when someone is manipulative, but I also feel anxious all the time. Here's what was happening. Her body was still bracing. Her system was still scanning. Her perception was accurate in fragments, but filtered through threat. Under trauma, the brain prioritizes danger detection. So again, Stephen Porges says, when the nervous system stays in survival states, the world feels unsafe, even when it isn't. Elena wasn't overreacting. Her system just hadn't stood down. In one session, I asked her, when you sense something is wrong now, does it feel calm or clear, or tight or urgent? She said, it feels tight, like I need to prepare. That's hypervigilance, not intuition. And then I asked, have you ever had a knowing that felt quiet? She paused. Yes, it's softer. It doesn't panic. There it was, two different signals. She had never separated them. What we actually did, we didn't try to make her more intuitive. We helped her nervous system feel safe again. We worked on grounding, emotional differentiation, reality testing or staying present, rebuilding internal trust, trusting her own internal feelings, and boundary reinforcement, really important. As her physiology stabilized, something shifted. She still sensed manipulation, but she didn't spiral. She could say that behavior doesn't align with me and walk away. No adrenaline, no over-explaining, no self-doubt. That's power. Trauma sharpens perception, but healing refines it. Hypervigilance is loud, intuition is quiet. So to you, thank you for being here live and those on the replay. If you felt a destabilizing, if you've left a destabilizing relationship, if you've been told you're too sensitive, if you learn to scan people to survive, you may not need to expand your awareness. You may need to calm your nervous system, because when your body feels safe, discernment becomes effortless. When discernment becomes effortless, you stop chasing clarity, you embody it. And that's what we're all about. Elena didn't lose her sensitivity. She lost the fear attached to it. That's integration. So now what I'd like to do for those of you here and on the replay, thank you for being here, is let's do a micro exercise, 60 seconds. No deep processing, just observation. If you're comfortable, place both feet flat on the floor. Sit back in your chair slightly. And just notice your breathing. Don't change it. Now think of a recent moment where you said, I just had a feeling about that. Don't analyze it. Just bring the situation to mind. Now ask your body one question. When I thought about that situation, did my body soften or did it brace? Did your shoulders drop slightly or did your chest tighten? Did it feel steady or did it feel urgent? Don't judge the answer, just notice it. Now let the scenario go. Take one slow breath in and a slow breath out. What you just felt is the beginning of discernment. Intuition does not require tension, anxiety does. And most people have never been taught to feel the difference. Let me know in the comments if you feel like that helped you to understand, or if you experienced a softening or a tightening. Okay, so now my method, the integrate method. So this is the framework for my coaching. So I is identify the nervous system state. N is neutralize physiological activation. T is track emotional pattern. E, extract intuitive signal. G, ground into the body. R, reframe illusion. A, apply boundary. T, test through behavior. And E, Elevate your vibrational frequency. So that would be the framework that I would use to help you with the goal that you would set at the beginning of us working together. So, who is this for? That's okay, Cynthia. Thank you for being here. Oh, okay. We're going to go through all these slides. They were in the wrong order. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, here we go. Therapists who are intuitive but scared to speak about it. That happens to a lot. There's a lot of doctors and nurses and therapists. Professionals who are spiritually curious but rational. Healers who feel ungrounded. High-functioning women healing from narcissistic abuse. People who confuse empathy with obligation. Who it's not for. People seeking psychic entertainment. People wanting magical guarantees. People avoiding responsibility. That is one of the reasons that I ask you to book a 15-minute free call before you buy into the Empower Me Now package, just so we're clear and you know that we will resonate. So this is what you're invited to: Spiritual Life Coaching Certification Pathway through the 5D Awakening course, which we're doing in April. So more information is on my website in the event section. Private group support and the free 15-minute discovery call. Very, very important. So before you go, if you've been intuitive your whole life, but also anxious, if you've done therapy but still feel there's something deeper, if you've explored spirituality but noticed it sometimes destabilizes you, then what we've covered tonight isn't just interesting, it's relevant. Here's what I see over and over in high-functioning, intelligent people. They awaken spiritually, but their nervous system isn't regulated. They sense things accurately, but they can't distinguish intuition from trauma activation. They're empathic, but they don't know where they end and others begin. That is such a big one right there. I went through this for years, where I would get myself in situations because I was taking on the other person's emotions. And so I would feel like I needed to be there for them or fix it or be a part of the situation that I had no business being in, right? Because I didn't know where I ended and they began. So we swing between overexpansion, over responsibility, emotional exhaustion, and self-doubt. This isn't a spiritual problem. It's an integration problem. So that's why I created Spiritual Life Coaching Integration Intensive, the Empower Me Now package. 9 sessions in 6 months. We get together every 3 weeks. It's intense. I've had several people go through it, and it's, when I tell you that integrated energy therapy alone is profound but subtle, this is like that on steroids. So it's not therapy. It's not psychic development. It's not surface level coaching. It's structure, trauma-aware integration work that's going to raise your frequency, that's going to allow your psychic senses to develop. So, in this container, we work through 3 core layers. We learn how to identify your state before you interpret your intuition, because dysregulation distorts perception. Number 2, you are clearly learn how to differentiate intuition, anxiety, disassociation, projection No guessing, no spiritual inflation. Number 3, boundary and identity recalibration. We're going to address hyper-empathy, trauma bonding patterns, energetic entanglement, spiritual bypassing, and we replace them with grounded authority, being able to get into connection with your own spirit guides and building that relationship because the trauma is no longer in your way. Paint the outcome. Imagine this. You sense something. Instead of spiraling, you check your nervous system first. You feel someone else's energy, and instead of absorbing it, you stay centered. You receive insight, but instead of making it dramatic, you test it calmly. That's maturity, and that's power. There are many spiritual spaces that expand people. Very few stabilize them. My work is about stability. It's about becoming psychologically strong enough to hold intuitive awareness without losing your footing. It's about really getting grounded in your connection to yourself, and then ultimately the spark of divinity that's within you, and that is you're going to get into connection with that through your psychic senses. And then you use that however you want, whether you want to share that or whether you just want to use that for yourself. So this is for you. If you're intuitive but tired of being destabilized, you've healed a lot but still repeat subtle patterns, you're a professional who wants depth without delusion, you're done confusing anxiety with psychic ability, it's not for people looking for entertainment or spiritual fantasy. You know, one of the things that I got out of a long time ago was putting myself in situations where I was gonna have to, like, prove myself or, and I call them the looky-loos, right? The people that are interested, but they're shopping around or they're trying to disprove you or, they got their own thing going on. Like, we're not doing that here. So this is very grounded. This is very science-based. This is very spiritual. This is higher states of consciousness. This is getting into connection with your multidimensionality. And so it's profound work. So this is a 9-week container. We meet 1.5 times per month, every 3 weeks. You receive live integration, practical nervous system tools, discernment exercises, real-time pattern interruption. And then optional private intensives, like if you need something specific. So that would probably be when I would pull in other modalities in the energy healing field if you need more support than just the integrated energy therapy. Sometimes the compassion key really works for some. And in most cases, I'm going to pull in the color therapy using the aura sprays that I have. So this is applied work, not theory. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. There we go. So if a part of you is thinking, what if I'm not intuitive enough? You are. What if I'm too anxious? That's exactly why this works. What if I've already done a lot of work? Good. This is refinement. Next level. Let's go to the next level. Spiritual development without grounding creates fragmentation. Grounding without development creates stagnation. Integration creates leadership. If you're ready for that level of maturity, the next step is simple. So I don't accept everyone because this work requires honesty. And there's just a lot of people out there that are still not quite ready to be honest with themselves. But if you are, then I hope you will book a free 15-minute call. Because your intuition isn't the problem. Your nervous system just needs to be stable enough to hold it. Every year you delay integration, you pay in confusion, emotional labor, and second guessing yourself. Clarity is cheaper than chaos. So thank you for being here. If you've made it to the end, I truly appreciate you, whether you're watching on the replay or you're here live. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope that you got something out of this. So if anybody has any questions, even if you're watching the replay and you have a question, please, please, please drop the question, because I will monitor the chat, and I will answer the questions that come in when they come in. So if this is something you feel like you're ready for, or you want to have a conversation about whether you think you have questions about whether this is right for you or not, please go to my website and schedule your 15-minute free call. Because again, this isn't for everybody. And I don't want you to be in a space that you're not going to thrive in, and that you and me aren't quite ready for. Because we're going to dive deep. And so I'm looking for those people that are ready to be really honest about owning their stuff. And one of the things I will say is, in my practice, I have no judgment. There are so many people that I work with that have been through some really, truly horrific things, devastating things. And so I just want you to know that whatever your story is, male or female, whether it's, abuse, addiction, generational curses, there's never going to be a judgment. And the other thing is, I want you to know that your story is safe with me. I'm never going to share it, not with family, not with friends, not with anyone. What stays in the container of our session stays there. And so I never want someone to be able to say, I heard from so-and-so, you said this or you said that. This is very profound work, and I take what you share with me and your journey very, very privileged. I feel very privileged to be a part of it. And I just want each and every one of you to know that. So with that, I'm going to say thank you, thank you, thank you to my spirit guides for helping me get through this. I think we got through it with a modicum of ease. For some reason, me and the mouse weren't getting along, but that's okay. Some of the slides are out of order, but that's okay. I am not perfect. And I don't have that perfection gene, because I know that we're all here for our own journey. And I think sometimes, to know that you're working with someone who doesn't take themselves completely seriously, knows that she's also on a journey and she is learning as well. We are all works in progress. We're all just in different states of the progress. And so right now, I'm in the state that if you're finding me, I'll be at a place where the spirit guides will work through me to help you. I do not do this alone. I would never claim to do this as well as I do through my own efforts. So thank you. Thank you for the allowance of hopefully speaking my truth. All right. Well, thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you so much, Darlene. Thank you so much for those of you watching in the background. Thank you so much for those watching on the replay. And I will look forward to being on your journey in whatever way that looks, and in whatever part of your journey that I'm part of. So have a beautiful rest of your Monday night, and I will see you soon. Namaste. Good night, Tracy.